Alright, what is up everybody? Welcome back to yet another video in the multiplayer inventory component series. We're just gonna keep going at it. In the last video we set up this little menu widget for right clicking. We get this little menu where we can choose some action. Use, destroy, drop. We're gonna add more stuff later. I noticed one issue is that now we can't drag it anymore. So to fix that, go into your inventory slot and on the false node here, the reason is because we don't call the return node if this is not valid. So we only want to remove the item menu from, maybe it was because this isn't connected, but just to be sure, let's also do this. So if it's not valid, we don't remove it from the parent, but we still call the return node. And that should work. It does. Perfect. So let's add some functionality to the widget. We can now drop, but we also want to be able to drop from the right click. So by pressing this one. Open the item menu, press the on drop button, on pressed. We want to call the function for dropping, which we have here. We have a drop item function. Item to spawn, we'll remove it from the inventory, so that should work. And we have this held item. So we should pass this on. We should do the held item here as well. It's going to be a class reference to the master item. Yep, we can do that. And let's just see. This is gonna be instance is editable and expose on spawn. So the reason we expose it on spawn is because if we now update this, we get this held item here, so we can plug this one in. That means that whenever we create this drop menu, we throw in the held item there, so it gets set on creation. Let me just rename this button to drop button. That should work. And now we also need a reference to the inventory component. Inventory component, because we need to call this drop item. let me just see. How do I do it from the drop slot? On drop, get owning player pawn, okay, and get the inventory component. Okay, so this is how I do it. So we can do the same, or we should be able to do the same. In the item menu, we can get the owning player pawn. Get the inventory component, and we can drop the held item. Let's see if that works. Yeah, it does. So, as you can see, it's all about passing information. That's the key to making stuff like this work. Reference, and the way I generally think about it when I do stuff like this is like, how can I access the information? Where do I need to pass the information? We could do several ways. We could also pass this through here. Actually, no. Yeah. You get the point. There's several ways to pass through information. Generally, this seems to be a good way to do it without needing any casting. So that works. And it works from the client. Client. Still works if I drop right, yeah. Works if I drop. And it works if I drop. Perfect. Yeah, I figured this would happen. From here, on the component overlap, in the master item. So what happens is, generally with collision and movement, is since it's frame, it's updated per frame, the collision, I guess. So sometimes this gets called without there's actually an actor there and stuff like that. It's all weird when it comes to multiplayer games sometimes. So yeah, that should probably work. We'll see if we get more errors. Let's make another menu called make user widget WB split item. Item amount I'm just thinking here. Pop. Yep. So when we pick up an item, when we use this, we want to press this drop, and instead of it just dropping everything, we want it to ask us how many items do you want to drop before we actually drop. And it should be the same when we drag it over here. I guess. So I think this menu stops working whenever I remove it from this. I think it should not. Maybe it should. Yeah, there's a couple of issues there. here we need to get the item menu is valid. If it's valid already, we're gonna remove from parent. Not sure why I removed that. Can remove this print string. So if it's already valid, we remove it from parent, so we can only have one of these item menus at the same time. And if it's not valid, we're gonna skip this. That should make it so that we can only do it once. You can see. We can only create one now. I think it's a little bit annoying that the mouse, it gets destroyed as soon as the mouse leaves. So we're gonna change that, I think. No, it's in the item menu. We're gonna stop that from happening. Yeah, that's fine. We're gonna do another button instead called, and we're gonna type cancel, name it cancel button, and scroll down, and on pressed we're gonna do remove from parent. So if I click, I can now do cancel, and I should probably do I can see that it also opens the inventory when if I pick up an item. Yeah, there we go. So we can do one for each. That's not good, because they are in the item slot. Let me pause and figure out some better structure for this. 1 second. I don't want to drag out too much time. Alright, for now let's do like this. I'm not sure if this is going to be the final solution. We should probably actually make this a little bit more advanced with event dispatchers and stuff like that. But I want to keep it as simple as possible, and we already set this up. So instead of this item menu here, we're gonna go into the inventory component, because that's easy to grab. And we're actually gonna, in the inventory component, we're gonna make a item menu reference here instead. And we're gonna make it instances editable. I'm not sure if that's required, but it might just be my system that bugged. But then we can do this to get the inventory component, get owning play upon, get inventory component by class, and grab a reference to the item menu from there. Replace the is valid and remove from parent, and then also replace the settings so that we set here when we create the widget from the inventory slot, but we set the variable in the inventory component instead. We also need to put it down here and replace this. Remove this and and compile. That should make we can remove the old reference without any issue. And let's just see if that works. Yeah, you can see that we can no longer create multiple of them. We can only have one. So that's good. And we can press cancel to remove it. We can also should also probably I'm just figuring out stuff here. Yeah, so if we click just normally, we'll remove it, but we also want to do okay, on our in our inventory, in our WB inventory, in our inventory slot, copy this function again, this item menu function in our inventory. We're gonna do an override here as well, on mouse button down. And we're gonna do is valid. If it's valid, we're gonna remove it from parent in the inventory. So we're adding a reference in the inventory. The reason is because we want to be able to click to remove the menu just because it's comfortable. We should probably also add like the escape function for it later. I should probably make some cleanup also. In the item slot also we have this is mouse button, right mouse button, copy this as well, go into the inventory menu, here we want to drag it from the false instead, because from the true one we create the widget in the other function. So if we don't do this check, there's a chance we create it and then instantly remove it from parent with this one. So that's why we use this check. You can see we can now click anywhere, and this works quite well. The reason we can click anywhere is because we have the drop slot in the background also. That's a part of the inventory. So we can just click wherever to remove that function, which works fine. We can't click the button though. Yeah, we can. Okay, yeah, no worries. We can click the button. Yeah, but what happened there? Okay, that's another issue. Okay. On the item menu, on drop, we also, after we drop the item, remove from parent. There we go. In the item menu. Okay, so there's a lot of setup here. We are at 20 minutes and we didn't even add any functions. We only added a bunch of setup logic. I'm just gonna clean this up a little bit. So in the inventory slot, we're gonna collapse this to function. Call it helper. This is just the way I like to prefix stuff, but this is going to be a helper function, so I'm going to call helper get item menu, and just gonna return it like this. Gonna remove the top one. We're gonna make it a pure function. There we go. So now we can do help, we can do get item menu whenever we want to. So that just makes it look a little bit nicer. And we should also all right, there we we should do this. Set item menu. We don't need any we don't need yeah, we can just plug that in. We don't need a helper function for that because this is going to be the only time we do this. Now we should collapse this to a function, call it f create item menu. Just to keep everything nice and tidy. And this one, we're gonna go into the inventory component. No? I guess that's fine, that's fine, that's fine, that's fine.